Welcome back to my huge channel, everybody. We all know every designer's bestseller piece, what is on the streets, what are people wearing, what is multiple times, what is fake, what is real. We don't know it, but we know what usually the bestseller picks are from all the big luxury houses and designers. But we don't really know what the unconventional best pick is. The pick that you don't find on the streets, that usually nobody is wearing, but if you really dig into the brand, you are aware that this product is actually amazing. And there's no reason why it's not successful. Probably the logo is not big enough. But this video today is dedicated to all those pieces of these brands that commit to so much and give all their best to create bestseller pieces and manage that, and forget about the actual icons in the back of the room that probably end up in outlets. And I want to dedicate this video to those pieces. What are the unconventional best picks of brands? And I don't know, but I created like a list of 20 brands or something more, wrote everything down that pops into my mind. There are obviously brands probably missing, maybe not missing, maybe you will not realize, we don't know. I will talk about those pieces. I went through a lot of fashion shows, but I think, I tried to find pieces that are pretty recent so you can kind of catch them somewhere. But there are brands where I really needed to go far back into the history to find an unconventional good piece, because the current pieces are problematic. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that yet, because it's obligatory and you might experience jail time if you don't do that, because that's a law. And of course, our little baby that we made grow all together, it's the Discord server, which is probably the most perfect spot on planet Earth. If you're a fashion enthusiast, if you care about fashion, vintage, everything. I don't even have all the categories that we have on my mind right now, but it's the most beautiful spot in the world to find like-minded people all over the world and talk with each other. And we have so many activities and stuff going on. I would say it's the golden era of Discord. And yes, you can join it. I will leave all the links down below. If you want to see also more videos, I do have a Patreon where I load up also videos of like interviews that I have of my personal life, of my personal depression, of how to style myself and all these things. And check out my website if you do care about very materialistic, superficial things like fashion items to get, to buy. I know that's the bad side of the fashion world, like literal shopping, because we are academics here and we like to analyze these things also and make it extremely smart. But at the end of the day, we do want to have fancy socks. So if you do want to have fancy socks, check out my website that I created, and it's kind of fun, it's kind of cool. It's a bit like a Substack, but there are reasons I don't have a Substack but a website. All the links are down below. Let's get into the video. So I just checked and I have so many brands and products mentioned that I don't know how to squeeze it all into a video. I know some of you guys like a 1-hour video, but also have fun editing a 1-hour video, okay? And also no, I usually don't like to exceed the 30 minutes. So let's get into this. I'm starting with Smoochie, aka Gucci. Rezo 2018, look 57 and 60. And I wrote down men's. I'm sure it was a show where they showed both, but it was during men's season. And I wrote down lipsticks, balaclavas, glasses, anime, Chinese and Peruvian influences that we had. I think, of course, I'm still crying over the Alessandro Michele era that we had. But despite just being like hateful and anti every new creative director, I don't want to be the person that is like anti-change, anti-new creative director. Like even Hedi Slimane at Celine did had a chance from me. I know he really valued that and that was relevant for the industry, but I did give him a chance and I did enjoy seeing Celine in a different context than what we saw with Phoebe Philo, for example. With Sabato de Sano, I really struggled to find a great item that I felt like is not very basic and classic, and something that is truly unique was really hard to find. So I really had to look at the very old shows of Alessandro Michele, and I know his last 1 or 2 years weren't the strongest, but yeah, it was beautiful 5 years that he gifted us. It was really, really nice. And this was the Rezo 2018 show. It's his best show ever. The set design, the clothes, the styling. Of course, Alessandro is a very styling focused person. And I know that is being criticized sometimes, that when brands are very like styled, and I do criticize that as well when it comes to Miu Miu. I do criticize that usually when the single items are just very basic and they try to create something interesting with it, while actually selling very basic pieces that I can't get from everywhere. And maybe that's the democracy of all these things. Like Miu Miu actually just wants to help us and show us that we can wear our t-shirts over long sleeves. But when it comes to Le Mer, for example, I think they do it in a smarter way, because they give you also good quality products that also have like unusual fabrics and craftsmanships. So I think if you want to give us good styling, your pieces still, the singular pieces need to be strong. And that's something I don't see at Gucci right now at all. I mean, I don't see any styling at all. I mean, even styling would be some commitment for some effort. But right now there's really just a big empty hole, and I really hope that this changes sooner or later. I don't want him to lose his job. Like, I don't wish that to anybody. I just really want him to improve or to make a stronger statement when it comes to his pieces. That's why I picked the Alessandro Michele piece. I'm so sorry, but yes, I needed to go back to 2018 to find something. And I think that he was very much early for his time with choosing balaclavas, for example. I think that's something, I mean, we saw it at Balenciaga, we saw it like at every other fashion house to this date, I think. But yeah, he implemented that into very chic and elegant and slightly disruptive looks, of course, and made something very unique out of it. And yes, another piece I noted were, of course, the sunglasses. And I know sunglasses are a bit more generic pieces as well, but I think the Gucci sunglasses, the weirdo sunglasses, the cowboy asymmetrical things with Swarovski stones on them, and I don't know, opaque ones and all these shades. This is something no other brand ever delivered, no other luxury brand. And even though they all produce at Luxottica and it's the same trash kind of, they were still the most unique ones. And I think Gucci sunglasses up to this date have never received the recognition they deserve. I didn't check a lot of Gucci sunglasses lately, but I think they still do these very much 70s pilot shapes that I personally love. But the good old days with those extremes, we don't have them anymore. So Gucci vintage, not vintage, but secondhand sunglasses are something you can still search for. Let's get to Miu Miu, the most successful brand out there, list index #1. I don't know, Forbes, everything. Everybody's influenced by Miu Miu. I don't see it so often on the streets though, so I know a lot of people say Miu Miu is the most influential brand right now. I only see it in form of cardigans, and I remember there was also a statistic that the search term cardigans out of nowhere, of course, suddenly started to be a Google search term, like one of the most searched for terms. By the way, I checked what's the most searched fashion term on Google in 2024, and it said Shein. So no matter how influential you are, Miu Miu, Shein wins this battle of €2 t-shirts. I think the most influential piece that, and we saw it at fast fashion retailers, but that still didn't make it strong enough, and I know I try to be an ambassador of this product, is swim shorts as outerwear. They bring back the tiny, colorful shorts, but I really truly love the styling here. This is, for example, a piece where I would say, okay, obviously you're not going for the Miu Miu swim shorts that were, I think, 700 or 800 euros. You can really go for your very own swim shorts, or you buy something that is a bit more minimal and has like a strong contrasting color so you can wear it with your actual pants. I think this is still an item, even though it was so iconic and everywhere on every mood board, not a lot of people implement it. And yes, it is also a trendy kind of styling, like these double waist jeans managed to sustain as well, which is way more questionable in my opinion. I think these tiny shorts or just wearing like swim shorts as outerwear, and I think I truly love this style because I've been wearing like swim shorts as outerwear for so long because I love these nylon fabrics. I remember I bought like 5 or 6 years ago some at COS Menswear, and so many people used to ask me like, oh my God, where are these shorts from? And it was literally swim shorts. I think that's really a great piece that you can invest in yourself according to your own means. You can also get the Miu Miu one. I would like to get the Miu Miu ones, and I have 2 on my wish list at secondhand shops. So let's see which one is accepting my lowballs, because I'm that person. I'm sorry, but people lowball me too. So the universe is balanced. I would say it's a pretty strong product, and I would say it's the most unconventional, strong product of 2024 for Miu Miu. The swim shorts. Let's come to Bottega Veneta. I know it's the favorite brand for a lot of people, and I'm not going to lie, I think it's the luxury brand with the highest quality that is out there. So if I have a ridiculous amount of money right now and I want to be a chic person, I would probably dress head to toe in Bottega Veneta. Personally, I don't think it's really feeding my hunger for not just artistic approach, because it's of course craftsmanship and it's artistic, but for design. I would like to see a bit more disruptiveness, and Bottega Veneta is probably the least disruptive fashion brand, like typical luxury brand, I would say. But the quality speaks for itself. We see it in the handbags. It's, I mean, 80% of their business is handbags anyway. It's probably also the smartest decision right now, because I just checked Chanel bags, which are like 8K plus, and the Bottega bag is 4K. So it makes absolutely more sense right now if you want to have like a well-crafted handbag to buy a Bottega Veneta bag. This makes sense also, because I'm so far away from this luxury handbag business that I was always like, why is everybody having a Bottega? But if you're super invested in having a luxury bag, a Bottega Veneta bag makes absolute sense, because the other prices are ridiculous and the craftsmanship is way worse. So overall, Bottega Veneta handbags are of course the #1 driver. I was surprised, and I know we all want to invest only in timeless pieces. And I know Mathieu Blazy loves to give us little twists and illusions with his denim that is actually leather, which in my opinion, I'm so sorry, but it is so, okay, I don't want to say bad word, but it is very underwhelming. I don't want to have a pair of denim that is actually leather. And I do understand the twist, you know, I understand the joke, and I understand that you make something look very simple, but it's like very heavily crafted actually. It makes sense in some sort of world, but I just don't think it's interesting. I don't think it's an illusion that is fun. It's just not so funny. So if something is not funny, I don't understand why I should irritate people and pay way more. And I also still wouldn't compare it to the Balenciaga jokes, which is like, yes, I make you buy a 1K t-shirt, which is like, I don't know, distressed and all these things, and it's a joke. I would still say Balenciaga, and I'm not speaking about the merchandising products, you know, not the t-shirts and sweats and all these things, really about the high fashion. I think they still, there I get the joke. I get the shoes. The shoes are hilarious. And a lot of clothes as well. So it's not my priority brand, Balenciaga, but I think Bottega, I don't really get these twists and jokes. But there was one item that I truly found funny because I fell for it. I didn't realize it. And then I was like, you got me. You got me, and this is a perfect piece. It's the bandana bag, and it's hilarious. It's so funny. It literally looks like a bandana that you have around your arm, but it's leather. And I think because I like the pattern so much, and probably the Capital kids will love this bag, it is just truly beautiful, and I think it's interesting to have a Bottega Veneta handbag that doesn't look like Bottega Veneta. That's funny. So you shouldn't get the Jodi bag or the Andiamo or whatever, but you should get something like this, which really shows the Mathieu Blazy effect also of joking and making fun of all of us, while also having something that is a bit more intricate and a bit more smart, and that has a bit more design to it, and that is not timeless. So I do like it when fashion is not timeless. I do like it when we see that it's pre-fall 2024. Like, I don't mind that not everything we have needs to be timeless, and Andiamo and Jodi is very timeless, so this is something you buy when you want to die with it. But I don't want to die with the clothes I buy today. I want to wear them as long as they make me happy, and then I want to exchange them with something else. So I think this kind of bags have been pretty much unrepresented by the Bottega Veneta community. And I think it's not the audience for the classical Bottega Veneta people. So it would have been other fashion kids, and they are not into Bottega Veneta bags. So that's probably the reason. I don't think they also stocked it so much and that it was like their big selling piece. But I think the bandana bag was really funny. And I think it's an unconventional best pick. By the way, everything that is slightly unconventional when it comes to Bottega Veneta is amazing also. So everything he does that is a bit out of the line turns out amazing. That's why I'm also so mad he didn't push more, but I'm also sure he got restricted after what Daniel Lee was trying to do, which was great in my opinion. But for example, the sweater of the same season as well, just the colors. I mean, I touched this sweater. It's an investment piece really for a lifetime. It's so beautiful. It's amazing. It is disruptive just in the way you see the lines and the color combination and the fabric all together. It's a beautiful piece. So I really think every time Mathieu Blazy had the chance to push, he pushed, and it turned out really pretty. It was the same Resort collection. So Resort 2024 was really exciting. So let's come to our little sick child, Balenciaga. One of my favorite brands still out there. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but it is what it is, and nobody will ever be able to change me. My first and favorite designer footwear brand, and I think some stuff needs to change, okay? I'm aligned on that. I think Demna needs a pause maybe as well, but I still think it's one of the most influential designs that were created in the 2010s, especially after 2015. Of course, Balenciaga is pushing hardcore on leather bags as well right now, because we all know that's where they have the biggest margins and where they sell to everybody ready to wear as expensive, and nobody buys it. Nobody wants to invest in an item where it's obviously not Balenciaga. So that's why the sweats and the bags sell so well. Anyway, of course, the rodeo bag is a best seller, this and that. But I think something, and now I'm coming back to the jokes, something that has still not been done justice enough, I think, because I feel like it's still very much in the Balenciaga kids community that are like going nuts for everything. And nobody else appreciates it because, I don't know, it's just funny stuff and not cool. But the dedication to create funny and good wallets, it's just out of this world. The passport holder, in my opinion, is one of the best pieces current Balenciaga ever created. The passport holder looks like a passport holder. They even have them in different colors, so you don't feel like you're not represented. You know, they have the green ones, the red ones, and the blue ones. I think these are the only colors you have passports. If not, let me know down below. Super beautiful. It looks like you have your boarding pass in it. It's really an item. I was in the store and I was like, I would just like to grab this right now. It's hilarious. It's amazing. And I think you really need to use these tools of brands that they stand for, which is maybe comedy, which is maybe satire, which is maybe also not so great quality, but then you pick whatever you find best. This wallet really has great quality. Obviously, the price comes from the branding, but I also have never seen something like that before. I think hilarious pieces from Balenciaga are still underrepresented and we need to push them more. And investing in a wallet, instead of getting a Bottega Veneta or Chanel one, I think getting a hilarious Balenciaga one is so much better. And this passport holder is insane, but you need to be quick because it's probably out of season like next year. Coming to, oh, I screamed a bit, I'm sorry. Coming to a brand I really try to connect with oftentimes. I really push myself to understand it in its core. And even though I learned on my Discord lately that the background of Coco Chanel is pretty much proven, I also still thought it's just theoretical. But anyway, this is not a political fashion YouTube channel. I really checked the Chanel products, and that's also where I realized what the price tags are. I needed to Google them because you don't have them on the website. And Chanel is just like this huge brand that stands for exactly one thing and one thing only, which is like French elegance. I don't really know what else there is. Of course, it was different with Karl Lagerfeld, but was it so different with Karl Lagerfeld for what they stood for? I don't know. It was a bit more gimmicky, which made it fun. So making fun of yourself always works. That's why we like Karl Lagerfeld's Chanel so much. Currently, and of course I checked the last seasons with Virginia Viard and I really went to the back of it. I think she was there the last 5 years. It was really hard to find for me, like just a single product that I found interesting. There was one garment and it's not accessible. You will not be able to buy it. I know you were all going to buy immediately that Chanel piece, but you will not be able to buy it. But it was the first ever piece. And I remember also having seen it live on my phone back then, and I was like, oh, a surprise. It's also the only garment in the whole collection that I found interesting. And it's something very basic. It's just fuzzy colors. And obviously they're also inspired by all these current Victorian, medieval tendencies that we have right now, where I also have a whole video about why we want to dress like that currently. But despite that, I just found like, okay, that's a bit interesting. The things they had around their glasses looked ridiculous to me. It is, I think, spring 2025, and we saw it on 3 looks. I also like it when we see multiple versions or different versions on like multiple models of one thing. So we see like how it can look in different ways. I really like that. I think that's something we can also very easily like replicate with something we already have at home, or we buy it. I checked a lot of brands. Also Etsy has a lot of these things. I would still say you need to be very careful with the quality because a lot of stuff really looks DIY. So I'm really always digging very deep to find something that looks slightly modern but feathery, because we love fuzzy stuff. I think that was really nice. Oh, that was also a collection that was not designed by Virginia Viard, I just realized, so yes. Another piece from, I would say, the sister brands, or let's say the biggest competitor probably of Chanel, which is Dior. I know Chanel wants to compete with Hermes, but I would still say Chanel's biggest competitor is Dior. So again, I really tried to check the website and try to find something interesting. Again, Dior is a very strong leather goods brand. Like their handbags are like the bestsellers, and the canvas totes that you're probably aware of. But their ready to wear, I think, is pretty much, yeah, makes a very small amount of their portfolio, probably like 10, 15, 20% max. So I checked the couture shows because since I couldn't find something ready to wear, I obviously needed to go to couture to check and find something interesting. It took me a while to find something in couture as well. So I checked it, and there was one couture show, and I think it was 2022, that had some striking design and something that was pretty unexpected for me from Dior. And I think only one model wore it, but it was also the opening look, so they kind of knew it was something different. And it was these hairy tights. I think there were also paillettes and like little strings, and the material looks like really something very intricate, and it looks very well crafted. I mean, it's couture, so I don't know. Can we say we can really reduce Dior now to this product and say that's an unconventional item? No. But I do think we can maybe get inspired more by their couture shows. Maybe something will change as well when Maria Grazia is not in the mood anymore, because as much as she creates bestseller handbags, I heard also a lot of other things from internal people where it's like maybe different, maybe new cosmos, new era needs to come soon as well. Anyway, I think the couture shows are still way more interesting than the ready-to-wear, which is not always the case. For example, with Chanel, I think their ready-to-wear is way more interesting than their couture. But for Dior, I think it's also very conservative in terms of Dior, but they try to show a bit more their craftsmanship. With Chanel, I cannot differentiate the tweed I see at the couture show with the tweed I see at the ready-to-wear show. But I pay like 5 times more or probably more. So I don't really get it. But with Dior, I think we see a bit more that it's like very like perfectionist work. And that's something I enjoy. And I really love these tights. Of course, again, it's on theme. But I think the tights of the Couture 22 show, or the leggings, let's better say, are the unconventional best piece ever they created. So let's come to their favorite little brother, no, somebody that has nothing to do with both of these houses. Maison Margiela. Obviously, the tubby boots, we have them everywhere. I would say it's just like the strongest item. Maybe some of their handbags, but I don't even see so many people with their handbags. Of course, the price point is a bit lower, so people are maybe more interested to get into that. But you know what? I just figured it's probably one of their best sellers, because I think when you click on the website, the first products that you see, like in new arrivals and stuff, is always handbags. And they push, of course, like the ballerinas. I think the ballerinas are like the best selling version right now. Or maybe it's clear to you if you know me from my Instagram and how I dress sometimes and this and that, but I think still one of the most unconventional pieces that are underrepresented and that we don't see so much on the streets are still the hats of Maison Margiela. And I think this is something that Galliano, of course, pushes a lot with his theater and opera costume background. He, of course, loves to dress people very costumey and in a very unrealistic way, which I personally really enjoy, because let it be up to me how realistic I dress at the end of the day. You know, I want designers to make me dream. So that's why I, of course, always enjoy very realistic brands as well that give me like great styling advice and all these things for my day-to-day wear. But this is usually something I can also create by myself if I just think long enough. But a dream, a vision is something, you know, where I need a little sparkle. I need a bit input. I need this whole machinery to make me dream. And I think John Galliano is probably the one that does it in the best way currently. Really curious what is going to happen. Please don't go to Fendi. But okay, whatever. I think the hats are something that are underrepresented. Nobody finds them all. So I get asked so often for where I bought my hat. And I think I bought it on Farfetch. I don't know, but it's really hard to find them. Even the silk veils, I have one as well that I wore once or twice for an evening. It's kind of weird to run around with it, but still, I think it's a great piece. I think it's an iconic piece. I think it's unconventional. I think it's something people need to push more. It adds something to your look. And I think if you decide to go like very monochromatic and not maybe you reinvent yourself that day, you can really just add a hat and that's it. Like that hat does all the work. You don't have to work that day. That hat does the work. I mean, the veil is probably a bit more expressive, I would say, than just a hat. But I think the Margiela hats are really, and there are not so many. And I saw that the website just uploaded new products and I haven't seen them for sale though. So I'm really curious if the runway hats or like other forms of it will make it to the stores. Usually it's just one shade, but I hope so. So I think Margiela, it's definitely the hats if you want to go for something that not everybody immediately has. And I love how we jump between different brands that are like so different from each other, because I just randomly wrote down a list. So if you ask yourself what I'm thinking of when I think of brands, this is literally the list I had. I'm very superficial. I started with the big brands. The next brand that popped up in my mind was Hermes. Probably one of the most luxurious brands that stands the most for craftsmanship. A brand, I have to say, I truly respect. And of course, we have respect towards everybody. But this is, like, Hermes is really a brand. Personally, I really enjoy their marketing strategy, even though if they say it's not their marketing strategy, I understand. But obviously, there are still people that care about PR, and there are people invited to their events and something. So there is somebody that is like, what is our image? What kind of people represent our image? And obviously, it's like, it's a handbag brand. It's not a ready-to-wear brand. I think they just really need to push ready-to-wear, because ready-to-wear is your storytelling. A handbag alone, it's such a functional item and it's such a singular piece. You cannot easily build a story around it, but ready-to-wear is something you're wearing on your body, you're walking down the street, is something you really tell a story with. So they will definitely have to do their runways, of course. I really enjoy their menswear shows. I think I enjoy the menswear shows a bit more than the women's wear, actually. But one item that really struck me, also while being in the store, because sometimes for the fun of it, I do enter their stores, because they're actually pretty nice though. I think the friendliest luxury stores to enter is Hermes. I know everybody wants to turn them into the mean guy and the bad guys that are restricting and being exclusive, but they're really they're really pretty nice. Like they leave you alone, which is, you know what, I don't care as what they perceive me. They leave me alone and they're not unfriendly while doing that. So maybe it changes from store to store also because we know the horror stories. Something they had, and was probably one of the most luxurious forms of that kind of item that I've ever seen before, was the gloves. The gloves were deer skin and had cashmere inside. I never heard of a combination like that before. It felt like heaven made. It felt like it's out of this world. It was beautiful. To be very honest, if you're a bougie person, it's not impossible to get it. Like you can manage your rent and stuff to get it. So that really struck me and I was like, okay, wow, that's a beautiful piece. It's the MS craftsmanship, but on gloves. And I think I really like gloves. I think finally gloves also get a bit more recognition in the society because we care about our hands again. And I'm never wearing hand balm, so gloves are really amazing. And I think, again, gloves are a bit like hats. I know I keep talking a lot about accessories, but you can really push your personal style with it. So MS gloves, I think the most underrated iconic piece they have. So I'm gonna make it quick because I have like 15 more brands and I don't want you to sit here for an hour because I know you're all super busy and have a life. I'm kidding, we don't have a life. Anyway, coming to Le Maire. Le Maire is of course this extremely styled, casual, everyday life brand with very muted colors, browns, beige, all these things, a lot of earthy tones. I think one piece that I find very beautiful and it's popular because it's always out of stock is of course their necklaces that are also like half mirrors or something. I think it's something they pushed before everybody else also started to do these very long necklaces, probably because of the row also, but Le Maire has been doing them for ages. So I think if you want to have something, starting with one of those necklaces is something interesting because it inhabits also all of this Le Maire allure of being bohème, but in a very streamlined way, some sort. It's very Parisian actually, but anyway, the other product I think is very iconic for Le Maire. And obviously like their twisted shapes, boxy shapes is something they stand for, but also their lacquered outerwear that is like coated, the canvas. It is so beautiful. I think it's something unique for them. I don't know how popular it is. I know they do the croissant bag in that fabric as well. Obviously, I think a lot more people prefer the leather handbags. I think it's such a beautiful fabric. I think the outerwear, and I know that's a strong item already, but specifically in these very light fabrics like nylon and this canvas, and also this necklace is something I would absolutely go for, more than the shoes and the bags and the twisted pants probably. So that's the products from Le Maire. I think Issey Miyake is a brand where we of course all first think of like plissé and the whole plissé collection. I'm not a huge fan of the plissé collections because I do think that ready-to-wear can be very repetitive and I don't see so much innovation in these looks. I also don't like the fit of these pieces, even though it's very form-giving and has a nice silhouette. I think it's just too thin for me and it just looks very comfortable and casual usually. So it's just not my personal appeal, but I absolutely understand the generic appeal of plissé. Issey Miyake, the fashion brand, the true line that ready-to-wear has actually so much more to give. And I think it's really underrated. Like Issey Miyake is one of the most underrated brands right now. And I know it's probably also because they don't market themselves so commercially, but it's truly beautiful. Really check on Vogue Runway, their shows, you can get a lot of inspiration. And what they're really great at is also colors. And this is something I personally struggle with. Like Dries Van Noten is a brand that is great in colors in my opinion, and Issey Miyake as well, and maybe even more muted and more easily applicable. So they had these tights in spring 2024, but I just figured I saw them in Essence. I also put them, I think, on my website. I'm not sure because I found them so beautiful. I think Issey Miyake has a lot of accessories that are extremely strong as well. You don't really need to have the plissé pants that a lot of people have also. If you enjoy them, of course, go for it. Like if something very generic is your taste, I like the very generic things as well, oftentimes. Like I'm wearing a dad's rugby shirt, I don't know, wool thing. It's very trendy right now. It's nothing special. So liking generic stuff is absolutely fine. But if you want to have a bit more refined taste or turn it into a bit more refined direction, I think his tights are really, really interesting. And also a great quick access to the brand and also to feel like how their craftsmanship is. So I think the colorful things and accessories are extremely interesting and Issey Miyake and something to look at. Junya Watanabe, probably one of my favorite brands of the Comme des Garçons family, of course Comme des Garçons as well. I just think Junya Watanabe is probably even more me because I just love the mix of functionality, utilitarian styles with like feminine things. I really, really love this. Junya Watanabe has this bestseller skirt, I would say, because it's a carryover. We see it every season. And it's a denim skirt and usually it has in the front the slit or it's a bit diagonal diagonal, and then you have this tutu-like fabric coming out, which is probably not organza but polyester, but anyway. And you have this mermaid kind of look, which looks very modern because from the back you're wearing a very tight denim skirt, and from the front you have a tiny explosion. So I really, really love these pieces. A lot of people still don't consider this a piece to get maybe from Junya Watanabe, but more the jackets, the collaborations with New Balance and Carhartt and all these things that are way more streetwear inspired. I think also it's a very strong menswear brand, so obviously like streetwear and menswear is very strong at Junya Watanabe. But I think his women's wear is extremely interesting, especially if you want to have a bit more of a special piece. These skirts, overall his skirts are just insane. For example, for Spring 22, he had this trench coat skirt that looks, from the features, a bit similar, but it's really like the trench coat just wrapped around your waist, and it's a skirt, so it's really, really extremely beautiful. And of course, on the runway, you always have the more extreme versions, but I love that he always translates it also in a very realistic way into his ready-to-wear. And his skirts are just so pretty, so beautiful, and they still look like sporty but elegant, and it's definitely like a hit piece. Kiko Costadino, probably more of a strong menswear brand in my opinion than women's wear. I really, really enjoy his own design for menswear, and I think women's wear is so experimental. Maybe I don't get it yet also. I really love it though. I really like to see it and try to understand it. Yeah, I think it's really funny because it's so outside of everything that we're used to be seeing. One thing he started recently, I think just a few years ago, maybe just 2 years ago, is leather goods. And I think that's also something that really shows Kiko Costadino is growing his business, even though I love it. I love the whole attitude that he has. It's really not a growth-driven company. It's really like the main purpose is still that they're all happy with what they're doing. His mom is working in the production field in Bulgaria, where he's from. And yeah, it really feels like still like a home-owned company, which it is. And he created also leather goods now. And I think that's always like the next big step, creating handbags as a smaller brand, because that's usually, again, the biggest driver for the typical luxury houses. This really means you're stepping up. Those are, I think, also made in Italy. I think the fashion, a lot of pieces are made in Bulgaria. Yes, I really, really enjoy his handbags. I don't see them often enough. I think it's a great price point. Quality is amazing, and it really, really looks super cool. I think it's a very innovative design and not so much seen yet. Of course, his Essex collaborations are something that are a bit more accessible and that are probably also driving a lot of his marketing and appeal, but his fashion is amazing, and I think the handbag comes a bit closer to his fashion. It's really cool. So I think if you say Kiko, a lot of people think like of clothes actually, of pieces, of pants and jackets and shoes, but I think his handbags are amazing. So coming to Sakai, and I see this video is getting super long, so I will make it a bit quicker. It's fall 24, the tweed jacket, and for spring 25, it's the sequined tartan jacket vest. What I love about Chasabi Sakai is that she cares so much about textiles and fabrics and how they're all working together. You probably know she also learned under Junya Watanabe. She says she got a lot of like business knowledge from him, but I sometimes see also similarities in their design, because I think they have the same approach of like utility plus elegant things. That's why I loved his skirt so much. And what she does is even crazier, I think, is really this material mixes. So of course, most famous is like her pleats with the nylon, or the nylon bomber jackets, and then you have like, I don't know, a striped shirt in the back or something. But in the last collections, first of all, she used this tweed, which was super interesting, so extremely beautiful. I was lucky enough to see it live. She had these tweed puffer jackets, and then in the back you still see like it's a puffer coat actually underneath. It's beautiful, and she manages to really bring elegance to this extremely functional appeal, which I think is rare. It's also pretty hard to be pretty and functional. It still is, especially in women's wear, I feel. I think for menswear, since functional items can look very elegant, it's easy in menswear to do something very simple. But I think when you want to do something not simple, it's really hard to look good and still keep your functionality. And I think that's what she does the best. So it's, I think, really her outerwear. And I know a lot of people think of the plissé skirts or the shoes. And I mean, the bomber jackets are also super famous, but especially these winter jackets. And the season, and that was actually spring 25, was the last show that I was also able to see. She had these sequin tartans that I felt, and it was, I don't know, we had sunlight that day and the sequins were reflecting and it looked just extremely beautiful. So Sakai is for me a brand that you really buy for the textiles also, and it's so unique. Nobody does that. Really, nobody does that or anymore. That's why I said I didn't dig deep back in the days, because if I had a spectrum of 20 years to do this whole video we would be stuck in the 90s or beginning of the 2000s because everything amazing was done already back then. But I wanted to keep it a bit more contemporary, so we have like the last 2 or 3 years. So I tried to find something for JacMoose. And JacMoose is a brand I really enjoyed at the very beginning. I think it was 16, 17, when he really started to have a bit more commercial success. And a lot of his pieces seemed still very artistic and raw and not so thought through even actually, but they were so pretty. And I remember, I think I ordered on his website in 2017 a coat. It was a great days. I think after 2018, when he realized he had extremely commercial and financial success with, I would say, pretty girl beachwear, because that's really the only thing I can relate to JacMoose now. I don't see a winter collection ever. So I'm really curious because JacMoose is showing during menswear. Really, really curious what's going to come out there. I don't know what happened to his creativity. He was incredibly talented and creative, and I'm sure he still is. I do think sometimes a certain form of success can direct you into a direction where you think it's smart to go where the success is. But something a lot of creatives say as well is, of course, that you should never just give people what they ask for, but create what they don't ask for, so they want to have it. Like Prada, for example, who created ugly stuff in the last 30 years, and people kept saying it's ugly, it's weird, but it made you think and it was disruptive. And I think that's important also in today's society, even for fashion. I think you have a responsibility. Guys, fashion means responsibility as well. I know this sounds ridiculous sometimes, but I do think fashion has still a power in telling a story. I don't want to say that JacMoose is not doing all of this or anything. That was really unrelated to him. I just really struggled to find pieces that I could recommend as an iconic piece. And that really made me think. That was really weird because I can find something. I think if you have a clue of fashion, you can find something anywhere. Like you can go into a $1 store and you do find something that you can make interesting somehow. Anyway, I think to sum it up, after fall 2017, I didn't see anything that I really liked, even though the shoes are funny. The double shoes, I don't find them exciting or interesting or thought-provoking. He has some gardening chairs, so that's interesting. If you want some terrace stuff, I really thought it's funny because JacMoose stands so much for the summer brand. You know, he even has like pool furniture. So if you want something unconventional from JacMoose, you can get a pool chair or like something to lie on even. Yeah, that's pretty unconventional. Sonoron, the hate-love brand for a lot of people. Really hard to digest, I think, for a lot of people that Sonoron just is great stuff. I always kind of loved Antonio Vaccarella's work because it was always pretty romantic. It was always a tiny bit of kitsch. And that's what I really liked. And I don't like this extreme coolness that Sonoron used to have. In the last show, Spring Summer 25 was really emblematic for kitsch coming a bit back, like also this 80s kitsch that can be very romantic and beautiful, and I really, really liked it. So overall, I do enjoy Sonoron ready to wear as well. I don't know if a lot of pieces are so relevant. I think they're also strong in outerwear mainly, and their skirts seem to look nice because they look very 90s. But despite that, I think that fashion is a bit easy to, you know, replicate with like what you already have in your closet. One thing though, and that's also because I experienced it and touched it by myself, where I realized, okay, this is really, really nice. It's overpriced. A lot of brands do this, but it's really different still. And that's their fashion jewelry. And obviously, Yves Saint Laurent has always been a brand that really cared about jewelry. It's a very jewelry-strong brand, actually. But I was never really aware of it. I mean, of course, we saw the bangles everywhere. But when I saw these resin, clear, transparent bangles in the store and I touched them, they really feel like, I don't know about their quality long-term at all, but it really felt special. And I would understand a person purchasing these pieces because it was really unique. It didn't seem cheap at all. It didn't seem like just fashion jewelry or anything. Like a lot of other brands create stuff where I'm like, this looks ridiculous. But the Saint Laurent fashion jewelry is really well made. Like even the bracelets, it was like huge round balls, but it was extremely heavy. And yes, weight is still something relevant. I'm sorry, but a lot of fashion jewelry is extremely light also. And I know that's not always a criteria of quality, but I do enjoy something a bit heavier as well because at least even if the product was cheap, they put something of it in it. It really felt amazing. I didn't try the rings, but the earrings and the bracelets specifically were so beautiful. And I think if you want to have something from Yves Saint Laurent, you don't need to go for the 5K code. There are also a lot in the secondhand world. So many beautiful fashion jewelry items that they have. So that's something I find disrupting in the fashion world and that can look pretty. Oh my god, 6 more. I don't know if I survived that. I've been talking constantly today. Dries Van Noten, and I'm making it quick here, shoes. I don't know why nobody is wearing constantly Dries Van Noten shoes. I have a few actually, two pairs. I think they do beautifully comfortable shoes. It's one of the most comfortable shoes that are out there in the luxury world and that are pretty and well made. I did have some struggle here and there with the quality of Dries Van Noten sometimes. I don't know if I picked the wrong pieces. I also have a coat that is like 8 years old and it has impeccable quality, so it can really be just a specific item. But the shoes have amazing quality, are beautiful. I really like the elongated shapes that they have, the interesting heels. I'm not always a funny heel girl, but when it comes to Dries, they really managed, now the new team, to create something new and beautiful, and it's slightly disruptive, not too much, but it's still like making you think because it's still something unusual and you're not used to see it. I remember they even did these loafers that were extremely interesting with these exaggerated tassels. So I really like Dries Van Noten shoes. Especially the heels, but also the loafers. And yes, I'm not mentioning the sneakers that are sold out everywhere because no bestsellers. And flat sneakers, we can get them everywhere. Brands I kind of struggled with, not because they're so terrible or anything, but because it was really hard for me to say that's a very strong single product. Starting with Courrèges. I think if you think of Courrèges, you think of this very 60s, minimalistic, futuristic approach of the brand because it's also, I mean, it's a very old heritage house and was actually very famous for their suits back in the days. I think now it's interesting where the brand is going. I think Nicola De Felice is doing great work as well. It was still a bit hard for me because I don't really connect with the ready-to-wear and I think it's a bit too minimal and a bit too skinny everything. And I didn't mention that about other brands, but a lot of brands are very skinny only also. It's something I figured while scrolling though, the handbags. And I kind of always sometimes have a problem to differentiate between Coperni handbags and Courrèges handbags. But there is a Courrèges handbag and it's called bowling bag and it has a very small logo because it's a bit hard also to find something with a small logo at Courrèges, which I found a bit disturbing. But this one looked so pretty. It is a very minimal bowling bag. We have these kind of bags also at Comme des Garçons, for example. It's really a great item, and I think Courrèges is a brand that is maybe not as famous as Coperni for the handbags, but it's actually better when it comes to handbags. So I think this bowling bag is a great piece if you want to have a bit of this Courrèges heritage, especially also because a bowling bag is very 60s somehow. You can have this single piece without having, I mean, I love the little pockets in the front that Courrèges always does, which is also so 60s, but it's so cute. I love his pocket tricks. But I think this handbag is really a great item that also plays with the whole identity of the brand, but also brings some newness to a look. So Coperni, and you know what? I will make this the last brand because it's absolutely not ending. I still have on my list Andemilmista, I actually have Zomar. I skipped Comme des Garçons. I skipped so many in between because, oh my god, what was I thinking? I will end this with Coperni, and if you like this, I can do it also maybe with a different criteria for other brands. Let me know. So Coperni, interesting. I think a lot of people would think I say handbag, but of course that's not unconventional, and I think we are a bit over the swipe bag and this and that, and I think the brand itself as well, and they're evolving into a different direction. With a funny collection at Disneyland, for example. Something that is not being talked about enough and that is very interesting is actually the shoe wear. You know, the shoes of Coperni are so interesting. Of course, the brand also has a bit of this futuristic approach and very minimalistic. That's why I said sometimes you might be struggling to differentiate it to Courrèges, but I think especially after this Disney show, we saw that it's a bit funnier, Coperni. It's a bit more youthful, definitely, than Courrèges. And the shoes, they have shoes that look like stars. And that's a show that I saw. I think it was fall 24. It was hilarious. The models didn't even struggle walking with it, which I was surprised about. It looked so funny. And now they also have these UFO heels that I find extremely interesting. I find them very pretty also. I think they managed to create this astrological appeal of their brand with Copernicus and everything around it, and everything is a bit futuristic also, but it's not retro futuristic, I would say. It's not as retro as Courrèges is. They really create interesting shoes. They don't have so many, but the ones that they have are very funny and interesting, and I think that's something you can go for if you want to try Coperni. Of course, you can get the very classical mini dresses as well. Is that Courrèges or Coperni? Again, I don't know, but the shoes are interesting, and I think that's an unconventional piece. I haven't seen anybody wear these UFO heels ever, which is a great sign sometimes. So I think that's a pretty nice piece for Coperni. So thank you guys. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Join the Discord if you want to have conversations like this, even more 24/7. You know, the cool thing about a Discord, and since everybody is all over the world, a lot of people in the US, in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, everywhere, is that you can constantly write with people. It's not like your best friend who's sleeping at 10 p.m. I'm sometimes awake at 3 a.m. and I write. We also have special guest talks. It's the Patreon exclusive, but on the Discord, where you can join and listen to people that have actually achieved something in their lives and they want to share it with us, which is amazing. Next month, so I have it already scheduled for the next month. I'm trying to figure out which one we will have next month, but it's always a very interesting call and it's like 2 to 3 hours. It's super cool. So join the Discord if you want to be aware of these things and talk to people, and also my Patreon if you want to support me, and also see another video weekly where I just talk about stuff. It's really just stuff. Check the website if you want to get inspired. None of these products will be linked, don't worry, but I have like wish lists and all these things. I don't know if wish list time is over, but also wish list time is kind of never over, unfortunately. But it did like an under 200 category because that's something I immediately click on everywhere. So I hope that helps. I try to give me also feedback. So let me know if this is all helpful. See you probably in the new year, after New Year's. Have a great time. Have a great year. Oh, maybe I should do something more sentimental and say how grateful I am, because that's really what I am. 2024 has been insane for me. It's been insane. And I'm so grateful for every single one of you, really. And if I could, I would like to write every single one of you a letter. Leave me your address in the comments. No, write me a mail with your address and I will write you a letter. Yeah. I would do that. See you.